Hey everyone, Mike from Rockwall here. Today I'm going to show you how we can create a budget for your small business within 15 minutes using AI. Now, just a little bit of a qualification to this, I guess, is there's probably going to be some accountants that watch this and go, oh, that's not a good budget. Yeah, it doesn't take into consideration a lot of things. But look, if you don't have a virtual CFO or an in-house CFO, you don't have a finance function that can do the budgeting for you, then this is an awesome option. It does not take long, and I tell you what, it's better than what you would think. So let's get into it. We've got a dummy company here, Vandelay Industries. If you're a Seinfeld fan, that's got to be worth a like and share. We're going to go into reporting. We're using Xero for this particular example. Doesn't really matter what software you're using, as long as you get the data. Okay, so I'm going to go to our reports menu, and what we're looking for here, we want to get what Xero calls a general ledger detail. Again, some systems will call them slightly different things, but that's okay. You should be able to figure out what you need. Basically, what we need is a list of all the transactions classified by account code for the current financial year. Okay, so in the case of this dummy data, the data in here is a little bit old, so we're going to actually go back a couple of years. But for you, when you do this, use the current financial year up to the most recent month end you have completed. Okay, so if you've only completed up to April month end at the moment, use the data up to the end of April. Okay, Claude or most AIs, whichever one you use, are smart enough to tell that it's only 10 months of data. Okay, or you can explicitly tell it. Now for Xero, we're going to just do one change, a couple of changes actually, before we run the report. In columns, we're going to add account code. Okay, that's important for when you go to upload the budget back into Xero. And we're going to just filter the account types. We really only need the P&L accounts, okay, for what we're going to do today. So any profit and loss type account. Now, you might not have all of these in your own Xero file or whichever system you're using, but you should be able to tell, hopefully, which are the account types. Basically, none of the assets, liabilities, or equity accounts, but we want anything that looks like an expense or income, okay? So we need other income, we need overheads, we need revenue and sales. Everything else is what we call a balance sheet account. Okay, so we're going to run that. Now, this could take a little while to run depending on how big your file is. This is only, as I said, it's a dummy file. It doesn't have a huge amount of data, so it doesn't take us too long to run, and we're just going to export that to Excel. All right, so that didn't take too long at all. Now we're going to pop over into Claude. This is just a normal Claude chat. Nothing too flash about it. I'm paying for the Teams version of Claude. We're using Sonnet 4.6 as the model at a pretty low token usage rate. Now, I've not tried this with other AI tools. I'm guessing most of them will do a reasonably good job as well. I think Claude's fantastic. So see how you go if you're using a different AI tool. If not, check Claude out. The one important thing I will say before we go any further, make sure you're using a paid version, and make sure you've made any settings changes you need to ensure that your data is not used as training data, okay? You do not want to put your sensitive financial data into an AI training model, okay? So if you're not sure, double check with someone that can help you and understands this stuff, because this is super important, okay? So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to attach that Excel file, okay? And then this is the prompt I'm going to use. So you should write a prompt something like this. When you're using AI for this sort of thing, the prompt is super, super important. So I'm going to tell it, I'm going to say, I am creating a budget for the 2027 financial year for my business. And I'm going to give it a little bit of background. Now, if you've got a real company, you can probably put your website in here and tell Claude to go to your website to get an understanding of what you do. But I'm just going to say, I'm in the construction, products, manufacturing, and wholesaling business. All right, that's what we're saying our dummy company does. And then What we want to tell it basically, and this is a good way to think of budgeting in general, we want to tell it what changes we're going to make. Okay, so the things to think about is revenue and staffing, and then any other wholesale changes. So if there's like big capital expenditure, or you're going to double your marketing budget, or you're moving to new premises and your rent's going to go up or down, you want to outline those things. Okay, so I'm going to say here that I'm going to say we are targeting 10% revenue growth. We plan on hiring 2 new sales staff at 100K each plus on costs. Okay, you watch, it'll even work out pretty well what those on costs are. I'm going to say, and we need to add an additional 40K to the marketing budget for a trade show in November, let's call it. Okay, and then we're going to say for all other line items, assume same as current year, but allow for inflation. And you can tell it what rate if you want, otherwise it's going to make an assumption there. Now, I need to do one more thing for mine because I'm using old data. I'm going to say this data is from the 2024 financial year, but for the purpose of this exercise, treat it as 2026. So we're going to submit that. Now, this is actually what's going to take the longest, is for Claude to digest the data, understand it, and prepare the draft budget. So we're going to fast forward here, and we'll come back once that budget's ready. It thought for just over 6 minutes, which is pretty good, and it's created a budget for us. So let's check it out. It looks pretty good on face value, I've got to say. So it's given us an assumptions page, which is always good to have in a budget. So I haven't asked it to do this. Like it's just realized that this is good practice for a budget. So it's given us its wages inflation rate, COGS inflation rate, general inflation. It's built in those assumptions. It's worked out our on cost. Now, it has made a mistake here because superannuation is currently 12%. So maybe the fact that I use old data has tripped it up there. So that's the only mistake I can see so far. Let's just have a bit more of a look at the P&L. This is incredible, guys. So I haven't asked it, like I haven't given it any instructions on how to do the layout here. And it's grouped our P&L. It's given us our FY26 actuals. It's compared it to the budget. It's given us a variance column, a variance percentage. It's given us some notes. I mean, this is pretty darn good, I have to say. Yeah, it's even, again, I haven't told it any of this. Like it's just worked it out. It's worked out how to group the marketing expenses, the professional services, the admin. Yeah, maybe I wouldn't put insurance in professional services, but yeah, I'm being pretty picky here. It's given us an EBITDA calc with a percentage. I mean, this is a very healthy business with 25% EBITDA. You know, this is honestly kind of scary as an accountant. If you're an accountant watching this should scare you. I know, look, when we do a budget for our clients, it's dozens of hours of work. It's very detailed. There's 5 times more tabs on our worksheet than this. So, this is nowhere near as good as that, right? But if you don't have a virtual CFO or a finance team in-house that can do this for you, man, oh man, this is not bad for 15 minutes worth of work. So we're just going to do 2 things that we need to fix up, right? So we're going to tell it superannuation is now 12%. Can you adjust the on-cost rate accordingly. And I'm going to say one more thing that I should have actually prompted this at the start. Also, can you create another worksheet in Xero budget upload format? Okay, that'll actually allow us to get the budget data back into Xero. And obviously, if you're using MYOB or QuickBooks or whatever, you just ask it for that format. I know for a fact that Claude is very familiar with the Xero formats, so it's just going to do it. If you're using something else, especially if it's a lesser known accounting system or ERP, you're probably going to have to give it some more context about what kind of format that needs to be in to successfully upload into your system. Okay, now this is why we created the data with account codes, because Xero needs the account codes when you upload it. Oh, one more thing while it's thinking about that as well. These assumptions are not just hard coded. They actually feed into the formulas. You can see the Excel formula here. So once this is rebuilt, like if I did just want to fix that on cost rate manually, I could just type it in there. If I want to change anything else around the inflation rate, I think we're currently in the 4s rather than 3.5. I could just do that. It hasn't just given me all these hard-coded numbers that don't flow through to the budget. So that's really helpful as well. All right, so you can see, it takes its time to think through. I'm using low effort, right, which means it's the fastest response, but it uses the least tokens. Okay, so I don't know what this would look like if we put it on high or deep thinking mode. It would probably be mind-blowingly good. All right, so we'll just let that run, and I won't sit here and yabber on for another 5 minutes. So I don't think that's going to take too long, but we'll come back once the final version is ready. Okay, so that's all done. So you can see our changes. It's updated the on-cost rate up to 12% super plus payroll tax, and it's also created this Xero budget upload format. Just looking at that actually doesn't look perfect. So my next step there would maybe either to just manually fix this or feed Claude a sample of the format that Xero requires and get it to reformat that. That might take another couple of minutes, but essentially, guys, this is done. This is not a bad starting point, honestly. For basically 15 minutes of effort, I think there's about 10 minutes of Claude thinking time there, and then another 5 minutes of grabbing the data and prompting it. So, your results may vary depending on the scale of your business and what you do, but hope that was useful. I am going to do a follow-up video to this on how to actually improve this budget quite a bit. With another 15 minutes or so of work, we can actually make this pretty robust. So stick around for that. Otherwise, thanks for watching.